Well, hello there, YouTube. As you'll see here, we have the 143 with the rub rail partially peeled out. That's because about a week ago I installed this fancy little transom brace right here. Even after you replace the wood or Kusa or whatever you want to put in your transom, these old boats are still just kind of brittle and don't hold their shape really well, so all the extra bracing you can use helps a lot. And in that, we did this fancy little paint job back here to seal up some cracks with some sealer. And in the process, I trimmed down little pads behind the clamps so the engine would rest down nice and low, fit where it needs to for proper boat control. And here's where it gets fun. I used, like a complete amateur, but this is how you learn, I guess. I used a silicone sealer like you would use for a house. I used like 40-year Alex Plus sealer, which I'm sure is really good sealer, but after I got reading about it, it's really not that great for boats. It's not designed for below the waterline. So like an idiot, I used the wrong stuff, but like I said, I did some research and learned not to do that. So I came out here today with my come along set up from a secure point above that I've used before. And I was going to pull this engine back off and remove all the improper sealer I used and use some 3M 4200, which I researched to be about the best thing I think I can find. And as I was climbing in and out of the boat to get all my tools out here for the project, I discovered that there was some flexibility between, and not now because I've kind of messed with it, but the bottom and the top were not tightly sealed together. So I started investigating that, and all these screws were loose. Here's one that's still loose right here. All these screws were loose, which these are oversized screws, so they're not the right material. They're not stainless, so they don't, so they will weather and rust out eventually, which is not very smart for a boat. But I got to looking behind it and messing with it, and I used some thin plywood that I could get at the hardware store for the screws to fasten to behind the scenes here, where you can't see it on the other side of it. And it's just, after about 10 years of bouncing around in the lake in this thing, they've all just worked loose. So before I pull this engine back off and reseal the transom stuff, I'm going to try something new. I bought some Trex decking material, and I'm going to cut that lengthwise into strips to use behind that as a non-wood nailer, but I'm using with screws to sandwich the fiberglass together and the rub rail. And I think I can do all that with the boat still hanging here above the water. I'm mainly doing that because this is a much more pleasant work environment. I have a nice cool breeze. It just feels so much better than it does in the driveway. I think we can handle that without dropping anything important in the lake that we couldn't fish out if we did drop it. And we'll get this all sealed back together. And I will have y'all along for the ride. We're going to use some 4200 in between these two surfaces to seal all that back together with. So yeah, I hope you enjoy, and then maybe we'll get to rehanging the engine with proper sealer on that too. So enjoy. Well, if you're still tuned in, we have the rub rail removed and the aluminum trim for the rub rail. And I wasn't going to go this far apart with it, but I am, because of how I mounted the poor quality wood under there. I'm going to go ahead and break the seal on this, which I already used. Let me show you my tool here. I like these plumbing tools to use to get the sealant out from between here. Once you've gotten all that done, which I already scraped this pretty well, then you can pull this up. On 143s, this corner is where it gets stubborn. This one I can tell is already dropped. Before I do that, I'm going to disconnect our center console so this will swing up a little easier. So let's do that real quick. Almost have the console unscrewed. Okay, now our center console can wiggle. Now this can be picked up a lot better. I'll show you in a second why I'm going through all this trouble. Because I can fit an 8-foot new screw board in as is under the bow. What fun would that be if we didn't split the whole boat out here over the water? Here's where it gets fun because I can't really reach it. There we go. There it is. Here's a little trick. You watch me fumble around when I can't see. There we go. There's one. Now we need the other side. I'll explain to you in just a second why I went through all this trouble. When I put this low quality wood behind here to hold the screws in, I screwed it into this first, which is pretty smart because it holds it in place. Then when you put the cap down, then you can just put your rub rail back on, run your screws through, and it holds itself. Little one-man operation there. But now that it didn't really last, and it's not even really rotten, it's just, maybe it's kind of dry rotting. It's just not very substantial. It's not holding the screws. So we're going to run all these screws out, remove all this wood, and we're going to put in some of this Trex in place of it. And hopefully this stuff holds screws well. I really hope it does. I haven't even tried that yet. Genius. Genius moves on my part. So here we go. Here's our replacement, I'm going to call them nailers, but the boards we screw the cap to the hull to. This is Trex, and I ripped these in on the table saw. It looks like these will hold screws good. I sure hope so. I'm going to try and slip these in there. That'll be like that. I'm going to flip it around like this to make them symmetrical to be cool that way. You can actually, these are 8 foot, you could actually slip them under the bow and there's enough room in the way the boat's designed to get the rest of it around there. But since this cap's already pulled up in the front, Work smart, not hard. And just stick them right here in the mouth of this little doodad, and we will get to fastening these up. Hopefully we can hold them in place properly to where we can actually do some fastening. We have our first 8-foot run of the Trex boards in here, and they land about right here to the back. Now we're going to measure for our front sides, and then the very front, and maybe even a little cap piece in the front. Measure, 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 look, and measure. There's more wood to pull out from under there. Okay, we have our Trex boards up here in the front. I haven't screwed that one in yet. I know, it's beautiful. I have that one set in and screwed. The two in the back are kind of held in place. I have a rabbit escaping up the pier. What's up?
Good time.
All good?
Gonna be in the front of it?
What if we did this?
You don't know.
Yeah.
How long is this video?
As short as possible is what I've learned.
Maybe it could be this much.
But it takes as long as it takes.
Yep, you got it. Oh, I need Snoopy. Snoopy loves video.
Snoopy's pretty cool. He's the coolest, rather. Oh, it's going. All the supports for the screws are in place as well as they're going to be. I'm try to set the cap back down on the hole and line up all the screw holes. It's important you line up all the screw holes, at least I think it's important, exactly where they were before. I think this will clearance. So we don't lose or ruin our microphone. Okay, can I get it up underneath here? I can't without my pod. All right. Now can we see in here and see what the problem might be? I think it should slide down except for right there. That is a problem. Well, we have all our Trex boards in here. The front ones are all screwed in. And we've clearanced some of the top support boards that make this rigid. And now we're using rubbing alcohol with a rag to clean up our sealing surfaces and remove the old silicone before we put it back together. We have her all wiped down. It's not spotless clean, but it's as clean as we're gonna get it. So now we're gonna install our 3M4200 and then start lining up the screw holes and putting the aluminum trim back on. We have the bow and cap hooked back together. I've had our rub rail out in the sun. This is the original 1969 rub rail. It's 55 years old. And this is how you put this in. Not near as warm as it was a minute ago, but you just walk it in there. I missed a spot way back here. Just like that. You'll probably have blisters on your hands when you get done with this, but it'll be worth it because it'll be done. Walk them on in all the way around.